It is a huge week for earnings. We're going to be hearing from some of the biggest companies coming out this week. Joining us right now with some portfolio picks to consider, Sylvia Jablonski, Chief Investment Officer and co-founder of Defiance ETFs. Good morning to you, Sylvia. First, let's talk earnings in terms of what you're expecting and a couple that you may be looking out for before we hit some of the picks.
Sure. Good morning, Andrew, and thanks for having me. I think I'm expecting this earnings season to come out strong, just given the amount of liquidity in the markets, fiscal stimulus, just fiscal monetary support in general for the market. So I would expect this season to be, quite stellar, really, and to, feed into the idea that we're going to see an economic recovery. So three of the names that I'm looking at this season are Johnson & Johnson, United Airlines, and Verizon for starters.
Okay, let's drill into each. Let's go United first, if we could. That obviously is a get back to work play, get back to the universe, the world's returning play. The question I'd ask you is why United over the other airlines right now?
Yeah, so I think I actually like the airlines in general, but United, I think, has been quite beat up. They're expecting a 6.91 EPS loss first quarter. I think that United has a lot of work to do in terms of, sort of getting out of their debt crisis. So it's going to be priced at quite a low. I think it has some room to run towards the $90 price range. And, with United, I think what we're looking for is really forward guidance about bookings and air travel. And I think that, we have international travel mostly closed or at least not fully reopened in terms of being able to travel around the globe from, country to country. Domestic bookings are picking up, but they're not at all-time highs yet. So I think that once we sort of get people back out there, I think pent-up demand is incredibly strong. Vaccinations are incredibly strong, and I think that that's going to propel the airlines. So looking at all of them, but I think, United has been sort of depressed as compared to, say, a Delta, and I think it might be a good place to look.
And you're thinking of that as a consumer play, meaning it's going to be the consumers
Absolutely.
that are going to lead the way on this. You're not thinking businesses are somehow coming back faster than. I mean, the conventional wisdom is that business through 2022 is going to be slow going.
Yeah, I think business is going to be slow going through 22, but I do think that the consumer is just dying to get out of the house. And I think that, again, just with the confidence around the vaccinations, we're starting to see the bookings data come out. And I think that's going to propel the airlines forward in general.
Okay, so we're going to hear from United on Monday. You got Johnson & Johnson. We're going to hear from Johnson & Johnson on Tuesday. What's the rationale there?
So Johnson & Johnson, expecting 2.33 EPS, 21 billion in revenues. I think that if you look at Johnson & Johnson, EPS for the year is expected to be 9.53, 21 multiple. So it should be trading around high 190s, low 200s, and it's about 160 and change. They've had some success with their immunology and oncology drugs that I think are going to pay out in first quarter. Medical devices have really suffered just because of COVID. A lot of medical procedures were shut down, and I think that started to pick up in Q1. COVID vaccine and the pause on that, I don't think that's going to affect Q1. That'll probably be a Q2 number. But, I do think that just the general macro overdrop there, aging baby boomer population, healthcare is a defensive-like sector. It's sort of picked up in performance over the last week with the S&P. So Johnson & Johnson usually surprises to the upside. So.
Okay, hit me on Verizon has earnings going to be reported on Wednesday. But what's interesting to me is you like the stock because you think it's going to turn into a growth stock. Explain that.
Yeah, I do. And a lot of people hate Verizon, which is really interesting. But I think that, so 1.29 expected, 32 billion in revenues expected. I think that this is the get into 5G now and it'll pay off later trade. They won about half of the spectrum auction. There is now a $2.3 trillion bill of infrastructure. A lot of that is, we're talking about that anyway. A lot of that is supposedly going to go into 5G and connecting rural and urban America. I think that the growth play is really just the focus on the 5G build out. They're trying to land contracts with Microsoft, SARS and Amazon and, drones for UPS. So I think that this is plus a 4.53% dividend. So, I think it's a growth stock. I think it's going to kind of do nothing for a little while, but it'll take off. So invest in 5G now. It'll pay off later.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.